part of my work and part and parcel, outside of being a channel, outside of doing light language, one of the most important things to me in my life was about finding truth. And the more that I studied and the more years that passed and the more decades that passed, I learned that there are many different versions of truth. And it all has to do with your perception. So one of the things that I teach is how to increase your levels of consciousness to continually widen your perception. And I'd like to say that the psionic abilities that so many people have, that we consider them as channelers or maybe special people, all of that is latently innate within your human vessel and in your DNA. And a lot of it is waiting to be awakened. A lot of it is waiting to be stimulated. And I don't consider myself special at all. I don't consider myself gifted. I am the same person as everybody else. I put my pants on the exact same way. So I don't consider myself different or gifted. What I do see myself as a person that is constantly looking in the mirror and saying, why did I think that? Why did I feel that? Why is this experience happening for me in this moment? Why am I looking outside of any moment, outside of the moment of now? And constantly pushing against the walls of what we consider fear. And those really are all lower emotional values. So the truth is, can we live in a more enlightened state? And I think as human beings, as we made the decision to incarnate on this planet Earth as a human being, that we came here to, one, let go of some of the past traumas that we've experienced as human beings that we may consider be past lives, but if we're in the belief system that there is no time, then those are all concurrent lives, and they're all happening right now in the moment of now, and they all have an influence on us, right? So it gives us an opportunity to kind of look at these things and kind of clean up the slate for the new next level of who we are to become. And I think that follows a lot in line with what Daryl says through, or BASHAR says through Daryl, that it's time to really take a look at ourselves and to grow and to stop the limitations of being small and really divest ourselves within ourselves by doing the inner work. And I'm saying this specifically because I know that this message is going to come through. This was some of the breadcrumbs that I've been receiving from the Pleiadians during the week. And, you know, one of the things I do is I've got about an acre of area in my backyard that's just all grass and trees. And, I'm just got my earphones on, my ear protection, and I got the leaf blower out just like everybody else. And, it's a mundane task, right? You're just moving across the lawn, blowing leaves, trying to get a pile together. And, these are where the little things are dropping in for me. I'm like, oh, they're telling me this. I'm like, okay, I guess you have my attention because I'm not really doing much anything else than swinging the air pipe back and forth as I'm blowing leaves. But for me, that's how some of the messages first come in, like you would say, like maybe topics or subject matter. And then I know, like, okay, when I get into a more of a channeling state, then these things will be expanded. Now, one of the things that I found that's interesting that I want to share with you that's really important, at least it is to me, throughout my life and throughout my expansion of self, is as I learned how to channel, it was really exciting. And, I kind of walked into the channeling state by knowing that through certain practices, through breath work, through certain ceremonies, that I was increasing my vibration. And I did lots of this work, this self-work, and just did it in the privacy of my own home, the privacy, of my own room. And I've got my own little altar set up with my crystals and all of, my spiritual garb, so to speak. And I started doing ceremonies and over and over and over. And I started to feel like there was something in my throat, like something wanted to come out, but I wasn't really sure what it was. So I'm like, you know, there's nobody here. There's nobody here to judge me. It's just me, my crystals, and whatever. And I started speaking this language that sounded like I was speaking a mix between Mandarin Chinese, Japanese, and something that was indigenous. And I'm like, I'm just going to go with this. It's just happenstance, nobody knows. I don't know what this is. I have no clue. I couldn't research it because I didn't know what it was. And I just kept doing it. And I kept doing it. And then, I had the courage enough to speak to one of my friends, who was early on in my development. And I was into, learning more about extraterrestrials and extra dimensionals and all of that. It was very much interesting to me. And I have a friend, his name is Ruben. And I said, Ruben, I'm got this thing going on and I'm not sure what it is. And he's like, I think you might be speaking light language, Glenn, because this is the pretense that you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So what the hell is light language? And he began to tell me, and I'm like, oh, wow. So it's this language that is galactic in nature. So it's understood by many different life forms. And when it is spoken, you release something called a packed thought form. I'm like, well, what the heck is a packed thought form? And he brought an example, and I started to resonate with it. It's like, okay, so when we have a lot of information that we need to send across the internet from computer to computer, we call it a zip file, right? So it's compressed information. But when we open the file, boom, this expansive information comes out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I still don't know what I'm doing, Ruben, but this is what I'm saying. He's like, okay, whatever. And we just happened to be on a retreat together years back. And I was doing some photography work for Ruben as he was doing a event with a live audience and also with a guest that he was interviewing and then broadcasting it over his live stream. So as I'm, taking some photography and whatnot, and he's in the middle of his interview with this woman from Japan, and I didn't know, but she was the foremost expert on light language. And not only does she speak 8 different dialects of light language, but she's also authored books and authenticated many people on it. So Ruben comes over and kind of gives me the hints. He's like, come here, come here, come here, come here. I'm like, what do you need? Do you want a close-up? Do you want me to get it, an angled shot? He's like, no, drop the camera. Come over here. He's like, I'm like, okay, what do you need? And he's like, get on camera. He's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. Speak your light language. I'm like, oh my goodness. Put me on the spot. I'm sweating bullets. And I'm like, okay, give me a moment, blah, blah, blah. And out comes this light language. And her name is Rika Amante. And Rika Amante says, yes, you are speaking light language. And this is what you said. And this is basically the origins of what your light language is. And if you keep this up, this will be part of your facet of healing and helping the planetary people and awaken people. And I was just taken back by that. I was so very grateful for that, but I was like literally sweating bullets. And that led me into deeper channeling. It was the precursor for me to get into continually get into that higher state of knowingness, and then being able to channel. So now with intention, I can channel different beings, and sometimes I feel like, I've got almost like BASHAR is sitting beside me, as we're driving along the channeling state as well sometimes. So I very much feel his presence, and that's kind of like a condensed little story of how some of the things have opened for me. But me as a human being and as an individual, I come from the fire service. I started off as a police officer and loved law enforcement, but didn't want to walk around with a target on my back all the time, like, oh, that guy's a cop, so be careful what you say to him. And I didn't, at that point in my life, I didn't want to be judged by other people because this is what I did for a living. And it made me feel really uncomfortable. So I decided to make a change after a few years, and I went into the fire service. And I spent predominantly a few decades in the fire service as a career firefighter and technical rescue specialist. And I taught everything that I knew throughout the United States in a company that I owned. I also taught for the state of Connecticut, and I also taught for the government. So I did lots of training of military personnel that, whether it be Army, Navy, National Guard, Marines, I did a lot of their training. So I did some really highly technical studies and teaching. And I think a lot of that kind of really helped me on my spiritual path, because it really grounded me as a human being, and knowing what some of the things and traumatic experiences that human beings go through, and also to understand it with compassion, and to understand that with caring, and having the ability to put yourself at risk for someone else. So that really gave me, I think a really good core to lots of the things that I'm doing right now. Is praying in tongues and light language one of the same things? That's a very good question. There is a correlation between speaking in tongues and also light language. But speaking in tongues has more of a religious connotation to it. Light language is completely what I would call denomination or religious affiliation. It's completely different. Some of the verbiage, depending on the person who is speaking light language, can be similar in some senses, but the intention for light language is really to give information and to activate something in the listener. And sometimes speaking in tongues is done for intentional purpose, to pray to a deity, albeit God, gods, or Krishna, Buddha. So that is where the delineation really takes place. And light language can come in many different forms. So you'll see me do some hand movements and whatnot. That is considered light language. It also comes out verbal, so you'll hear me tone and repeat, and it has a very earthy, indigenous tone for my particular light language. And I'd be happy to do a little bit of light language tonight for everybody. It's always good to receive a healing, right? Or to receive an activation. So never turn down the love when it's being offered. But also light language is in symbology, and we can consider it almost from some of the hieroglyphics that we see, whether it's Egyptian, whether it's Native American, whether it's Aboriginal. You'll see some patterns in those things, like spirals. Some of those things denote portals. And, if I turn my head and you look at all that, my camera's going to follow me. So I got that smart technology. But everything where you see this ascension stargate, between the actual placement of planets, you'll see there's a planet right there. You'll see the phoenix behind me. You'll see two pillars. That is all intentional done. There's lots of meaning. So some of the things that I do is very, very intentional. Color, symbology, it all has embedded meaning in all of the things that I do. So it kind of makes me that mystical, mysterious person. So, but thank you for the question about light language. Um, where would we like to go? Does anybody have any questions for me as far as, before I get into doing a little bit of channeling? Anybody want to know, anything about how I channel or what, what the precursor to that was?
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming to talk to our group. I was so excited when I figured out that you were local, and I really resonated with you saying that you're a grid worker because I've had that vibe too. So thanks for coming to hang out with us, and definitely keep us posted on the local events. I don't have any specific questions on the process, just because I've been seeing other people do it for a long time. I guess I just have one question because I happen to have a crescent moon on my shirt, and I notice you have a crescent moon on your background.
Hmm.
So if that is a crescent moon, is that, or is that something? I don't know if that's something
Well,
different.
there's let's see, there's something up there, which is
Yeah,
called
yeah,
the
yeah.
planet. This
Oh,
is the sun, and behind me, you can't really see it. There is the moon. So
oh, okay.
the the energy between the sun and the moon is always moving back and forth, and it is represented by masculine and feminine energy. So what's happening today in our current events, and I'll just bring up one thing, is that we've been having these solar flares, which is illuminating in these beautiful aurora borealis. Well, within that solar flare, it's not just energy, it's information. The reciprocal of that information when it gets to Earth is light. Light is the acknowledgement of the receivership of planet Earth, which is our feminine, Mother Gaia, and the sun is the representative of the masculine. So it is the conversation that is actually happening between the two, and it's constantly happening, and it's getting more intensified because we're seeing the result thereof, the energetic conversation and these beautiful lights. So what does that mean? Well, currently we the the planet, Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, the feminine, is upgrading on her frequency. She was at third density frequency, which is the acknowledgement and recognition of self, so able to self actualize, self realize. And she has already moved into her fifth dimensional energy. And that is a much higher dimensional energy. The frequency is happening much faster. Things are changing. You will see this as, whales and dolphin are kind of off on their bearings a little bit, and that has been kind of happening over the last 2 to 3 years, where it's been become more and more prominent. Well, those frequencies are changing, and that is also changing the energetic resonance of the planet. So what's happening to us in this change, which also has to do with the change of planetary alignment, as we're now in the planetary alignment of Aquarius, and we moved out of Pisces. So all of these things are starting to change and influence. And many of the ancients knew about all of this particular change that was going to happen. You know, it is dramatically portrayed as the Armageddon, the end all of be all, but that really is just a misinterpretation. The interpretation should have been that this is the end of the age of the dominant masculine, the patriarchal time, and we are now moving into the celestial change of the matriarchal time, where it's not the rise of the physical female, it is the rise of the feminine energy, where we all start to embody more of that nurturing aspect. See, I wasn't even channeling and you got that information. But I've been down this rabbit hole of spirituality probably since the time I was a child, and by the time I was 18, I was going deeper into astrology. I've been down many, many rabbit holes, very, very deep, very, very far. But one of the things that was really stuck with me throughout all of my learnings and teachings is being heart-centered and how to cultivate heart-centeredness and how everything works in the scientific basis of neuroscience. So when we start to compile, we have our spiritual side on one side and we have our scientific side, and we start to marry the two, then it really changes our reality. And then we can start to say, okay, all of this spiritual stuff really makes sense now because we can back it up with all of this tangible science. And we are coming into that age where these two things will be more and more and more interwound. That will help us in our health. It'll help us in our mental health. It's going to help us in all of our societies, and that is where we're heading.
Awesome. And I saw a question from Troy. Do you remember what you have said while channeling?
So I kind of remember when I channel, I go into a heightened brainwave state and I kind of move the egoic gland aside and then allow something to come in. So I'm like semi-conscious. Sometimes I can remember parts of it. Sometimes I'm like, I got to watch the recording because I have no clue. Um, that's just the way it happens for me. Some people have perfect recollection. I don't necessarily have that recollection, and I don't think I really speak in a different voice. Things just kind of speed up, or you'll hear my language speed up a little bit.
We have a good baseline of you now. So yeah, we're good. Thank you for the introduction. And again, we're just kind of, happy and grateful that you're taking this time to hang out and give us some cool messages.
Cool. So let me get into my channeling state, and let's see what they have to say for you this evening.
Thank you.
We are the Pleiadian collective of nine. We are also considered the Council of Nine, and we are so grateful and thankful to be and co-create with you in this evening. We are so graciously proud of you that you are here to observe, to listen, and to integrate whatever information that we may have to give to you this evening. We would like to let you know that we are a perspective, and we would like you to keep that as a perspective. We have found through many channels and many channelers that sometimes information is taken as gospel, as you may say, or as the ultimate of truth. And we would like to remind you that this information is to be considered as another perspective. The channel also speaks of many of these different points of perception. And you must take and discern which one fits for you. There are many points of information and many points of view, but we, as a collective, offer this to you. Again, we have much gratitude to offer. We also have a message that we would like to offer in regards to information. Information disseminated, again, should be taken at your personal discernment. What does it mean for you in this point in time? What does this information and how does this information resonate with you? We would like to point out that in this point of time, there are many pieces, parts, and integrations of information. You will find that some of this information may not resonate with you. And you may find that some information you would consider cloaked. We mean by cloaked that this information has a hidden agenda within it. It is to invoke something emotional within you. This information that can be disseminated today is being brought to the surface to be examined. And there is great reason for this. There are many agendas that are on your planet that are not working right now.
Power off.
These agendas are being held onto by different entities, by different energies, because the planet is changing, and yet it is up to you to make a discernment and which facilitates your needs in the moment of now. This information should be passed through your vessel, and most importantly, not necessarily analytically, but emotionally. It is the port of your heart that discerns this information. For one thing that is true about a human is that you have this innate ability, and you can cultivate this further if you so desire, that this information passes a test, one in which you would be able to meter, in which would have the polarity of positive or negative. So we would like to convey to you to utilize this organ in your vessel, your heart, to bring information past, to see if it is true, if it meets your truth meter in the moment of now. There will be much information within the next 16 months coming to you. And you need to decide its relevance and its resonance. For many are coming to this solar system to observe what is happening. What decisions will the human make? How does this information and decision-making process change and modify the collective of human thought? This is the leading edge of where you will be heading. And again, it has been told to you through many sages, through many eons of prophets, and through many channelers, that this day was coming. It is a day of discernment. It is a day of choosing between two different paths. So we inform to you recommended to use your heart as your truth litmus test to see what information will bring you into the right path for you. And again, there will be people, there will be humans that will choose the incorrect path. Do not discern, do not condemn them, because that may be their soul's choice. It may not be yours. Bring that into your awareness. We leave you with this message to contemplate, to think, to discern, to pass through your heart, and to see if it resonates with you in this moment of now. We thank you for allowing us to give this message, and we now open up to any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Troy has his hand up. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, and first, thank you and welcome. And I have felt the presence at times of Pleiadians during CE5, and thank you for that. And as we look at those paths coming up, I'm wondering if there's anything for me to help prepare to be in service for when, after more contact is made, because I feel that's when things will really kind of get going, and what I could do to be in service at that point.
We thank you for your question. This may seem counterintuitive, but the highest service to others is through the service to self. The more intense inner work that you do will allow your light to shine brighter. When your light shines brighter, your resonance, your frequency increases. It is like tuning up the volume on a radio or increasing your broadcast signal not from just one local area, but to maybe the continent. It is so important for you to continue to do that inner work because you are a beacon to others. It will help contact because as many different species outside of the Pleiadians, inclusive of Arcturians, Syrians, Lyrans, and many others, they are coming. They are here. They are looking for those who are doing their work to continue to make contact with. We recommend that you set intention, that you wish to contact in the most equivalent way, and also without expectation of receiving something. There are many factors in which you are not aware of. There are many factors in which is being instituted by government entities right now to limit some of this contact. If you continue to work your light, those will not be obstructions at all. It is about building your energy. And if your energy is large enough to be seen, to be recognized, for us to quantify, and the proper intention is set, communication will be made for whatever is appropriate in that moment of now. We thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Awesome. I have a question. So if we're feeling that we want to connect with the Pleiadians, is there a shape or a symbol or a color that we can tune into to connect with your frequency?
There are many variations of blue. Blue represents many of the Pleiadians and also the seven sisters, in which you should be familiar with in many of your teachings about the star system of the Pleiades. Blue is a resonant color for us. There are many, many symbols, so for us to recognize any specific symbol is not necessarily specific enough. Again, that we recommend that you set intentions and that the Pleiadians will recognize these intentions. It is by the frequency that we can discern in which we wish to make communication with you.
Thank you. And then because we're a New England group, specifically in New England, do you feel or see or could you suggest any hotspots to us for UFOs or really positive high vibration beings or situations to connect with or go to?
Yes, thank you for your question. There are many mountaintops that are very much energetic points. These were considered very sacred spaces from the original indigenous peoples. This was their representation to be closer to the Creator, and therefore many ceremonial spots, many ceremonial things took place in these higher tops of the mountains. If you can find something close to these particular locations, you are using the natural energetics of the planet and also inclusive of the natural energetic shapes of the planet. These points are all hotspots.
Thank you. Does anyone want to come off mute and ask some questions?
If I may, and please, I don't want to just ask too many, but there have been a couple people I've wondered might have a Palladium background. One is an ET who I think may have some human and perhaps Palladian DNA that I'm in contact, kind of like an exchange program that I see myself in with her, named Anne. And then there was like one other somebody I met when I was a kid too. But I was just wondering if there was anything you might be able to tell me about Anne, if she has a connection to the Palladians or any other information that would be good.
One moment, please. Many human beings on your planet right now are starting to realize that they have a resonance with certain extraterrestrial beings. Many of your humans on this planet right now are just that of humans. Although there are a few hybrids, there are not many quite yet. That is to come and that is to change. The things that people speak of, that I am a Pleiadian, I am a Lyran, I am an Arcturian, I am a Sirian, is that part of them in which they begin to resonate with the deeper energetic aspects of a lifetime or many or multiple lifetimes as a person or a being of that indigenous space, in space. Now, we'd like to remind you that when people say they are a Palladian, that there are many planets in the Pleiades. It is much different saying that I am an Earthling, because that is very specific to a certain planet in your solar system. And our solar system is much larger than yours. So we have better than 100 planets, and there is life on most of these planets. So therefore, when someone says, I am a Pleiadian, that is like saying I am an Earthling, but really coming from maybe the Americas. So we want to convey to you that it is important to investigate those feelings or that information to the best of your ability. But having to be a hybrid right now is highly unlikely. Yes, there are close to 1 million different hybrids on the planet right now, but that is only a fraction of your 8.7 billion people on your planet right now. These individuals have very distinct and different features. They will physically look different but similar. They may be quite taller or shorter. There is many different aspects of that right now. So to pinpoint one particular person would be very difficult for you to find out, for you to understand. We would also like to remind you that as you investigate through your galactic heritage, so to speak, you begin to remember. And when you remember, you begin to activate the latent part of your DNA structures. These structures hold many psionic abilities. As this channel has said before, you are all psionically capable, and which is very true. Going down the valley and looking for the information that resonates with you is important. So we recommend that you find the avenues by setting intention and asking questions that might be resonant to your galactic heritage.
Thank you very much.
Chitel, are you ready for your question?
Hey, Andrea, it's V Paul actually. We're using one phone, but yeah. First, thanks for taking the time to speak to us. I got it. So my question is, you know, ever since we've joined the CE5 events and doing those CE5 techniques, now whenever I like ask to see my galactic friends, they show up. That sometimes they don't, and that's fine too. But I just find it so cool that I could just kind of in my mind and my heart can just send out a signal, and they can kind of just show up and show me a sign, either flying by or a light or some sort of color in the sky. It's I just wondered who they were, who's making contact, and just wonder who that is, because for me this is like a dream come true. I've always dreamt of knowing that there's something else out there, and as a kid, like I know there's something. This is like, to me, this is awesome, and I can't wait to make contact, see them in person, and just so grateful for this. But appreciate your any information you give me on this. Thanks.
When you are seeing flashing lights, when you are seeing things streak through the sky, when you are seeing things that might be visions, so to speak, or aberrations, these are many different things. We'd like to first start out by identifying what they might be. You are seeing different variations of craft. Craft can come in the small sphere of light. They can come in flashes. They can come in streaks. And then they can also metamorphosize into its true dimensional aspect. Right now, it is difficult for the human to conceptualize some of the demographics or the geometrical shapes in which our craft are made of. They can be quite small and they can be quite large. They can change interdimensionally. So the representation that is being shown to you is something that you can conceptualize within your aspect of library of information, within your context of information in which you can understand. As things progress, as more people become familiar, so to speak, with these particular phenomena, it will become something that will be mainstream. And things will change to be further shown in their so-called original forms. In these sightings also are different types of beings. These different beings come from the Pleiades. They also come from Lyra. They also come from Sirius B. You are starting to make connections with these. We urge you to keep these connections going forward with your intentions. They will only get stronger, they will only get more frequent, and they will only get bigger. Keep your intentions pure. That is the key. As you keep your intentions pure, as you keep your intentions without expectation, it opens up the opportunity, because you are at a higher frequential state, in order to receive our transmissions, to visualize them within the context of using your physical eyes. You will not need anything extra to see, as they will become bigger. So we recommend that you keep on your path. And we thank you for making these intentions, as we do wish to communicate.
Cool, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Hello. Thank you for this contact. I'm joining late, so if I repeat any questions that were asked previously, please excuse that. But I'd like to know more about you and your civilization. Who are we speaking to? Are you an individual and or a collective? And where are you right now? And what is your day like? How do you go about your day, and what is your reality like?
We thank you for your question. We are a collective. We are 9 individuals, but speak in one collective frequency through this channel. We, in your linear time frame, are tens of thousands of years old. Our civilization has a different perception of time, and we are in the 5th dimension, meaning that at some times we do not necessarily utilize a body. We are utilizing a frequency of energy that is always with us. And if we so choose, we can represent ourselves in physical dimension. Our job, our work, so to speak, is to help and guide other beings from other planetary systems. Earth is not the only system in which we choose to work with. There are many planets throughout the galaxy, throughout the cosmos, that we do work with. It is about cultivating a perception and giving this information, disseminating, just as we do this with you. We find this is our passion for we sift through many libraries of information to come up with the answers that meet and match frequency. It is our pleasure to spend our days, so to speak, to facilitate in service. And there are many like us who do this. We are creators just as you are the creator of your life. And we enjoy this.
Thank you so much. We have another question, I think.
Hello, and thank you for joining us this evening. We are grateful for your presence. I wanted to ask about something individual, and then I had another second part question too. I wondered if I have found that when I intentionally try to connect individually, I either tend to fall asleep or I don't seem to have what I perceive as any contact. However, I have had contact and they come and I've had visitations, dreams, and so forth, and have seen craft, flashes, and so forth. But intentionally, on an individual basis, I don't seem to get this. So I feel like individually, why might this be one way?
We see when you are within a group, you are taking part of something called collective consciousness. This is a frequential base, meaning that frequency is a signal. When there are many people with the same intention, it increases the signal amplitude. Therefore, you get the benefit of receiving because you are within that field. This is something that is actually happening on your planet quite often. And as more people initiate contact, it increases the field for others that are so-called on the fence. For you individually, as we have said before in a prior question, it is most important to do self-work, to focus on yourself right now. The reason being for this, again, is that when you do the self-work, when you do self-exploration, you increase your frequency, you increase your amplitude, you increase the volume and authenticity of who you are. It is this which enables more contact. As we akin it to the beacon becoming brighter, we akin it to the radio station being broadcast wider, or the volume being turned louder. Therefore, you become more recognizable, and our frequential match becomes more equatable, more achievable. So we highly recommend that you find what works for you in cultivating your own energy. And it has been said before that following your truest passion increases your amplitude. We agree and we highly recommend this.
Thank you. Thank you for this. My second part question was for the Pleiadians, do they seek counsel or mentorship from any other race?
There are many different forms of thought within our star system of the Pleiades. We cannot speak to them all, but however, we will speak to our Council of Nine. And we do have higher energies in which we integrate with. We also integrate with the 9th, 10th, and 11th dimensions of energy. There are beings of life in all of these dimensions. And just as we work with you, they work with us. We are continually evolving, for it is about change, and all of creation is the nature of change. And therefore, when we seek for change, things change. So we do have mentorships, and we are also givers and receivers of this information.
Thank you so much.
I have another question. I always like to talk about the hybrid children, and I'm referring to, well, I guess maybe we could just see if personally, from me personally, are you able to connect or give me any messages from my hybrid children?
At this time, we cannot give precise information. The reason why is that there are many different timelines that are happening right now. There are verges of different timelines that are spurring, so to speak. They are energetically moving. And therefore, we cannot connect to this specific timeline.
Okay, thank you. Chantel?
So, hi, another question. I'm just wondering, so when contact occurs, will you be coming to Earth? And if so, will we be able to meet you? What kind of frequency level are you on that now that you need to come to that allow you to come to Earth and meet us, or do we have to raise to a certain level and we meet each other at certain points? And I'm just wondering what your frequency levels are at the moment and how you evolve that as well.
In this current moment of now, we can present ourselves in a shape and also a physical presence in which you would be able to recognize and resonate with. However, there are so-called restrictions right now that are taking place. They will be lifted. They are changing. We are working with a certain protocol. In the next future months to years, depending on what is happening in this moment of now, the human frequential is changing. Although the events that are happening on your planet may not seem evident of this, but it is people like yourselves that are becoming more inclined to question, to seek, to understand, to set an intention to connect with us. And this, therefore, is modifying the protocols that are currently in place. Remember that we work on things that are frequency. And our frequency is always present enough to be visible to you. So we are waiting for you to match us to a certain point. And that is coming. We foresee that that is an absolute. Although we cannot give a specific day, month, or year on this timeline quite yet. We just can assure you, though, that we will be present. We, as a collective, will not be coming to planet Earth. However, there are other Pleiadian members within many different galactic federations and unifications that are already present and waiting to be cast into your vision, so to speak. They are already on the outskirts of your solar system, and some ships and craft are on the outskirts of your planet. So we are in place. You may say it is a waiting game and let's see what will happen. But we are very confident that our timelines have shown us that it is high probability that we will be there within the next, so to speak, 18 to 24 months.
Thanks for that information. And another question, when contact does happen, will we be able to go on the ships and explore space as well?
The first is recognition. For the human species to notice and to accept that we are in existence. The boarding of craft may only happen during your dream time. And that is not us physically taking you, that is you energetically joining us. You will have memories and dreams and thoughts that you may just pass off. But those are true experiences that are happening. Those experiences will lead to deeper physical experiences that will happen. It is, again, we see it as inevitable that we will be commingling and co-creating together in a physical sense. That may be a little further off. We predict from the timelines that is a 5 to 6 year possibility.
Excellent, thanks. Can't wait.
Another question from me. What's most exciting for me in my life right now is signs of ET contact. I do CE5 on a regular basis, and I communicate with other humans who are also interested in CE5, this group being one of them. And there was another group of humans that I communicate with regularly who recently traveled to Joshua Tree. And they brought home pictures and stories that were so interesting and fascinating of photographs showing cloudy presence around their bodies and lights in their hands or under bushes nearby where I don't believe those lights were seen with their physical eyes, but seen on camera. And my little group here in Bangor, Maine, my CE5 partner is present here in this meeting. We were doing concurrent CE5 with that group in Joshua Tree, and we saw a discus-shaped, just a very brief moment, just for 1 second, a discus-shaped object in the sky with maybe some pink colors to it or whitish colors to it. And we've seen orbs. And so if you have any information to share about those objects, I would love to know a little bit more about what we saw here in Maine and also what may have been seen or experienced by our friends in Joshua Tree. If you have any information on that, I would love to know.
One moment. To speak specifically to your event in Maine, we see that you are connecting with ships. And remember again that we have said that you will see lights, flashing lights, orbs. These are representations of ships. They come from many different places. However, as compared to the experience that was noted in Joshua Tree, those are not ships that you would see from a galactic presence. Those are ships that we would consider man-made from your planet. This is something that we wish to bring to your attention. As we have said before, there is a discernment process that needs to take place. This is very important, and this is why we take this opportunity to say this again. When seeing different things in the sky, it will become imperative to your choices on what you believe is true. Many of you wish to sometimes make it something that it may not be. Therefore, labeling it something as an extraterrestrial craft when it is something from your planetary military. This is something in which you need to grow a larger awareness and discernment process. And as we have said before, utilizing the organ of the heart within your vessel should be your meter for telling you what is true and what isn't. This will become more prominent. It is unfortunate that the human reality is going through this process, because it is an initiation to hold on to something that is not necessarily true for you. We use the word cloaking because there will be craft, and many craft, that will be from your planet, from your military, with the agenda to make you believe that it is something extraterrestrial. We have no part in this. We do not wish to participate in this. This does not align with our truest endeavors. So again, we wish you to discern with your heart, to see what information is true to you in the moment of now, to believe what you are seeing, but to come from a point of discernment, understanding, and of course, asking more questions. So again, we recommend use the vessel of your heart. Ask it. Physically ask it a question. Is this extraterrestrial, or is this something that has already come from Earth? This will build your further awareness process, where you will be easily able to identify something that is extraterrestrial as compared to something earthly made.
Thank you. I find it surprising that these would be human-made objects when the participants in Joshua Tree didn't actually see them, but they were only shown on camera. So that's surprising. I've not been made aware of any human technology that can do that sort of thing. And as far as the ship in Maine, would you be able to give any additional information about that ship? Do you know what civilization it came from and what its purpose was for appearing there?
We see that the ship has come from the Pleiades because we recognize its energetic signature. Currently, its purpose is for information gathering. The ship itself has consciousness, meaning that outside of the occupants within inside of it, the craft itself is conscious. And within this consciousness, there is a linearity that is found that makes a connection with you, the humans. When your resonant frequency is high enough, you can communicate. This is why sometimes when you ask, please flash, and so it does. Please move to the right, and so it does. These are confirmations of actual communication with extraterrestrial craft. You will not find that man-made craft will have the ability to do this, but you will have proof that there are many different crafts from Earth and from galactic presence, both viewable through certain apertures of your frequential cameras.
I have a ship in my imagination named the Aerial Light, and that's a big golden saucer ship. And that ship tends to rest on the moons of usually Jupiter, sometimes Saturn, and is no longer occupied by beings who ride aboard, but it's sort of its own on its own at this point. But I've connected with that ship in dreams and in imagination. So can you tell me more about the Aerial Light? Was the ship that we saw connected to the Aerial Light, and why am I connected to that ship? What is my connection? And that will be my last question. I know there's other questions.
We do not see a correlation between your visual aspects of this particular golden ship, although we do see a correlation of a timeline of your soul connection as another being on this particular ship. So it is more of a recurrent memory of an experience in which you were another being. We feel that this being does come from the Antares star system, and that at one point you did have many lives as an Antarian. And this is the connection between your dream and this ship.
Thank you so much.
Some great information. Thank you. So we have about 10 more minutes. I'm not sure if you want to do a little light language to kind of close us out. I don't know how that sounds to the Pleiadians that are with us now.
We would like to thank you for this opportunity to co-create, to open the frequency of inquisitiveness and love. We are so very grateful for each of you, and we want to remind you that we are proud of you and your evolution, because we are all connected. And you will know this deeper connection as we go further into contact. Again, we are grateful and thankful. We are the Council of Nine, and we wish you good day.
Thank you so much.
I'm crying. Was it good?
It was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really fun. It's always so cool to get our questions answered, and some really interesting questions. It's nice to make connections of what's happening in our life to, how star beings actually see it.
Oof. Lots of energy in the hands. Excuse me just for a second. I need a sip.
Does anyone want to give some feedback?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I hope the connection brought some positive information or some insight, or at least prompted you with more questions, as it normally does. Um, every question leads to 10 more questions, right?
Yeah, I felt really good about everything, and everybody else's questions, and it was really very cool. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Hey, Glenn, it's I'm using my wife's phone, but it's V Paul. How you doing? Um, I was wondering when you go through your channel, like, are you energized afterwards, or how do you feel once they
Well,
leave your
my
body?
hands feel like, have you ever had like a leg that gets tired and then it gets all of these tingly feelings and you can't
Yeah,
stand up?
yeah.
My hands feel like that and my whole face feels like that.
Oh
So that
man.
is the what I call the aftermath of the energetic resonance of being the channel, because I'm holding my frequency at a certain level in order to facilitate the conduit for them to come through.
Okay. And so are you like kind of in the do they are you like out of like what am I trying to say? Like you don't remember, right? What happens? You're just kind of like on the sideline.
I don't really remember. I
Okay.
couldn't tell you any specificity of anybody's question. I know
Interesting.
that some people had some questions. Um, I have a resonance that there was something spoken about craft, and that's about it.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for tonight. I didn't know how to raise my hand on this thing. Um, but it was fantastic. Actually, I went to my first CE5 with this group recently. I have more of a rich inner world than a rich outer world. I sort of live in a bubble here. We have two people here living on the spectrum, myself and my granddaughter. And sometimes I feel like we are going in and out of dimensions
Mm-hmm.
many times. Like I just noticed that it at times seems to slow, and then time seems to bend, and then it seems to race. And I kind of feel like the effects of it very strong in my home. And I was just wondering, any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So, society has labeled people on the spectrum as having a deficit, and it's really the complete opposite. It is having a benefit. And depending on, you know, what things are happening in your life, what's present, um, you have these distinct abilities to be hyper focused in certain areas, more so than any other human being. And we've labeled people with ADD, spectrum disorder, focusing disorder. That is completely wrong, and I can tell you that from all of the work that I've done in neuroscience. Um, that is a label, and you know unfortunately there's so malintentions behind this, because if we continue to label people, then we can assign certain pharmaceuticals to so-called augment that, and that we're helping the symptomology of that. We're in the time right now where we're awakening and we're understanding, like, man, I don't need to take these pills. I don't need to do this. I don't, if I just take care of my vessel and increase my frequency and increase, my energetic presence, that life starts to change in a positive way. And I'll give you the secret. Every thought that you think, every thought, everything that passes through this fatty membrane upstairs has a frequential value. And what you think is the projection of your reality. And that's how this matrix of life works. So if you think The doctor just told me I got this. I'm feeling pain and the doctor diagnosed it as arthritis and I got to take this. Well, you're accepting these belief systems because these people are so-called qualified and certified. And there may be some truth, but there's also, another resonant factor of information that there's an agenda behind this. And this agenda has been going on for not decades. It's been going on probably since, the mid 1800s, if not longer. And as we become awakened, as we become more individual, we can form our own realities. And it has a lot to do with not just following your passion, but believing it. Because you could follow your passion till the day is blue. But if you don't believe it, like, I can do this, I'm doing this. I've seen so many people that start out with this passion, like, I want to have this, I want to do this, I want to be this. And then they fizzle out because they've been told by other people, you're never going to make it, you're never going to do this. You have to really embody the belief that this is possible and then live it from the point of gratitude for every little morsel that is in your favor, that you take that and run with that. You emphasize each little win. And the little win could be, I got out of bed today. Yes, you got out of bed today. And take that and run with that. Whatever it is, So don't wear labels. Don't ever put yourself in a box. The capabilities that you as a human being have are unmatched to many extraterrestrial beings. I'll give an example. There's a mindset out there that there's certain species of Draco reptilians that have these psionic powers that can overtake the human consciousness. Well, that's only if you allow it. Human being is made up of so many different galactic DNAs that when you tap into the authenticity of who you are, it's like, just turned on that, just turned on that, just turned on that, just turned on that. And then you have all of these great capabilities. You're so much bigger. You're so much greater than how you've been told. Because if you're small, we can keep you in a box. We can, extract the energy of you and your passions for a benefit for someone else. And you never get to embody what life is really afforded you. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to live. We're not here to be a good employee or, sit on the sidelines because someone said you were sick. That's not life. That's not what we're here to do. So it's about, finding that inner person, that inner work. And, it's like taking layers of an onion off till you find that first core, that first piece, that first coherence. And that is when you get to start to live, when you've taken off all of the labels that, you picked up as baggage along the way of life. And we all have. And it never stops. It's not a one and done thing. It's not, I'm going to go to this workshop, I'm going to do this, self-embodiment work or this self-meditation work, and then I'm done. It's an endless job, but the endless job affords you the biggest rewards.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to say that I'm very successful in not labeling. I consider being on the spectrum a superpower, but I'm trying to teach that to my granddaughter who is having a hard time because in school there's a lot of labeling going on. But when she gets home, it's my time to disentangle her.
Hmm.
But yes, definitely. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you. We're just about at time. Um, I really appreciate you coming and talking to us. And like you said, I feel like I have more questions, but that's okay. It's the, evolving process. Did you want to close out? Maybe give us some information, if you have any events or offerings. I think that would be great just so people know where to find you if they're resonating with your style.
Sure. Um, I'm local. I'm here in Fairfield County, Connecticut, so I'm about 65 miles outside of New York City, so that kind of gives you a geographical location of where I am. I'm just above the city of Bridgeport and just south of New Haven, if you're familiar with Connecticut. And if you've ever been down in Connecticut, you know the traffic is terrible, so. But I do CE5s. I've been doing them before they were called CE5s. Um, if you have ever watched Cosmic Disclosure on the Gaia channel, the Gaia TV network, my good friend and close buddy is Emery Smith. And Emery and I have done many CE5s together. He's invited me to open up and to do the opening ceremonies. And I do it in a very specific way. It's very heart centered, and it's everything to do with frequency and energy and about building you up. And we've had great successes. I do them right here in Connecticut in my backyard. Come spring, I will be doing them again. So they are posted on my website, which is www.divinephoenixhealing.org. You can find that. I do a bunch of local events, during the spring and summer months when I can. I normally do at least one every month. Um, it's I just consider it a love offering. Come and just be a part of a group. I do a teaching or a learning. I'll bring in some channeling. We'll do CE5s, do all kinds of things. So, stay tuned to my website. I also do private sessions with people. I'm starting to limit off the private channeling because people come with expectations, and then um, their real questions don't get answered because they think that that's the only answer. So normally what I do now is with my private sessions, I just incorporate channeling into that. So you'll just start to see me go out and I start to channel. I'll give it, my eyes will close, and I'm just giving a channeled message. And there's many beings that I will work with when I do that. So that's a little bit about my private sessions. I also have lots of friends that are on the Gaia network, and I've been trying to get a hold of Daryl. We just our time spans just seem to be missing. Like right now, he's in West Virginia at the Channel Panel, and I'm doing filming all of this weekend. So like nothing matched up, and you know something that I kind of started to dive into was acting, uh, and I'm becoming a successful actor, which is kind of hard for me to say because I've got so many things going on and with channeling and teaching, but that seems to be a lot of fun for me. And believe it or not, I'll release it here. This is coming from it's going from thought to conceptual to now it's into the fabrication of all of the dialogue, and there will be a movie called First Contact that I am writing, and I will be actually channeling in this movie as First Contact. And one of the exciting things, and this is like the big thriller that I'm gonna bring in. I'm gonna do a CE5 live as part of a fictional movie, but it's gonna be the real deal. When you see ships coming in from photography, it's not going to be any cinematic or IA made thing, it will be the real deal. And that is my goal, to bring more awareness through things. It's like, I'm sure you've heard the phrase stuffing the medicine in the cheese. This is stuffing the medicine in the cheese in a realistic way. So, people will go see a movie and say, yes, this is cool. Oh, they did this. It's going to be the real stuff, though. This isn't going to be any, Spielberg, E.T. phone home. So that is my biggest news, and I think that's why I got pushed into acting, is to create this. And you can also find my stuff on YouTube. So I do have a YouTube channel. You'll see many different interviews with other, what I consider, valuable spiritual leaders. So please feel free to take a look at that, and you can find that on YouTube at Stargate Crusader 365. So, and all that stuff is on my website.
Awesome. Yay. I'm so happy we got to finally get together and have this, especially as it's starting to get cold out. We'll be doing more Zooms. You're always welcome to join. You know where to find us. And thank you. Continue to share your events and what's happening. And we'll keep an eye out for sure.
Awesome. I send every one of you much love, much light, much positive energy, and I wish each of you the very best in every moment of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn. We really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time and energy.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Night, friends. Night, night.
And thank
Good
you,
night.
Andrea, too, for getting all this together.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea.
Yay.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Have a great night.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Bye.